What is the administration's policy regarding city employees bringing their pets to work with them when they're not registered service animals? And is it appropriate to expect city employees to care for officials' pets while they attend meetings?
Hi, thank you, Council President Davis, Councilor Bassan. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I'd be happy to get back to you if there's a written policy regarding city employees' pets that are not service animals. I know there are building by building restrictions on animals as well. I'd be happy to get back to you with more details on that. No one's ever asked me that before.
Seems to be becoming a public issue at this point. So I have several questions that are again, things that have been in the newspaper lately. I don't want to violate anybody's privacy by naming names or anything like that, but I do think that the constituents and the city have a right to have answers to some of the questions that have been put out in the paper. So the Albuquerque Police Officer Association recently conducted a survey with over 400 responses from its members, and the results showed from their survey that 95% of those officers feel unsupported by the administration and the council. What's being done in the administration office to combat this shocking drop of officer morale?
Council President Davis and Councilor Bassan, was that directed towards the mayor's office or towards APD administration? And my understanding is we do have...
Yes, thank you for clarifying. The mayor's office.
Thank you, Council President Davis, Councilor Bassan. We are aware of the survey of less than half of the officers in the APD, and we work closely with the chief of police and the entire command staff, whose primary responsibility it is to make sure that they understand the concerns of their workforce and are addressing them and bringing them up to our attention when that's appropriate.
Thank you, Ms. Nair. And I have a few more, Mr. President. I promise I'm going to roll through them as fast as possible. So according to articles in the Albuquerque Journal, Chief Geyer requested an investigation for serious allegations regarding or including violating standard operating procedures, engaging in conduct that reflects poorly on the department, altering, misrepresenting, or making false statements in reports, and failing to safeguard department property. The chief's signature stamp was reportedly used without the chief's approval to buy a personal computer and an Apple TV box, and that had no apparent use for work and was reportedly never returned. Mr. Aguilar stated during routine APD administrative investigations to determine whether employees followed policies, quote, temporary reassignment of employees is a common option to protect both sides during an investigation and is not retaliatory. So, first question regarding that, is it appropriate and customary to use signature stamps to sign official documents, including the signatures from both the mayor, chief administrative through the mayor's office, officers, and the chief of police?
Council President Davis, Councilor Bassan, so let me unpack that for a minute. There are several allegations about the use of the chief's signature stamp or his initial stamp. I'm not sure which those are. All of those allegations are under investigation at the internal affairs level, professional standards within APD, and so we would not discuss that until the results of that investigation are complete and those are made public. I understand that the press has printed a variety of allegations made by an administrative assistant and by the chief himself, but we're not taking any position on any of that until the investigation is complete. That would be improper. Okay. And to the extent you asked about my stamp, I don't have a stamp, and I don't believe the mayor does either.
That's very good to hear. Thank you, Ms. Nair. So in regards to taking a stand on that, and with what Mr. Aguilar, I don't know if it's best for him to respond, or Ms. Nair, being that you just said you don't take a stand on certain parts, but again, from some of these allegations in the journal, have all parties involved in this same administrative investigation been placed on leave?
Council President Davis, Councilor Bassan, Steve is actually not with us tonight, but Deputy City Attorney Samantha Holtz is, and she can speak to the general policies that we follow regarding administrative leave. Just to be clear, the administrative assistant in the police department was put on a transfer, not a leave. So that means you work out of a different place as opposed to you're at home. And I'm not sure of the status of the chief of staff. That would be the chief's decision. I'm not sure. He hasn't asked for anything that requires my approval. But Samantha, do you want to add anything?
Council members, Councilor Bassan, I think it's very fact dependent on whether somebody is moved or under what circumstances people are moved. And so what we look at generally, and from work with human resources on with that, is what do these people, what does a person do or an employee do? Is that transferable to somewhere else? And also getting them into, a situation that may not be, for example, in a harassment investigation, if somebody's making an allegation, you would want to get them moved. Many times people actually request that. So it's really fact dependent, and there's usually a legal analysis that goes along with that.
Thank you, Ms. Holtz. It appears that this transfer that's been mentioned could appear as retaliation to a lot of constituents and the people in Albuquerque, particularly if both parties involved are not transferred to another section or department or put on leave to have some fair and equitable accountability with that. So I worry that this failure to protect somebody that is allegedly doing something right and doing something honest ends up making it so that other people aren't going to be interested and willing to come forward and do anything honest and go to their superiors in order for clarification with that. So I guess I'm wondering, why was the decision made to transfer this employee to another department while the administrative investigation was underway, when it should be? I guess I'm confused why it's the chief's job on one hand and then it's Ms. Nair, you did it on the other hand. So can you please clarify?
Thank you, Council President Davis, Councilor Bassan. I'll leave most of that to Samantha. Just to be clear, I sign a lot of those memos, but it's never sort of my own idea. I have to take that recommendation from the departments. But go ahead, Samantha.
Yeah, so council member, Councilor Bassan, many times Ms. Nair is correct. We are discussing issues with the directors, which in this case would be the chief, about what is the best thing for the department. And then that recommendation goes to Ms. Nair for her signature. In the instance before you where you have the two parties and whether someone was moved or not, I think it was also in the press that there were also allegations against the other party as well, that were prudent to have that person moved out of the department that had to do with confidential information and material.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. So my last main question, and this again, I appreciate the clarification from all of you because I read the newspaper and this is what I find out. So I want to make sure to get it from the administration and the source on how we should best respond or think as well. So it seems that members of APD are going around the chief, and that lends the appearance that the administration may or may not lack confidence in the effectiveness of Chief Geyer's leadership. So is Chief Geyer in control of the APD operations, or does the chain of command go directly around him to the administration depending on what questions are being asked?
Council President Davis, Councilor Bassan, yeah, I read that blog too. I think the clearest answer is he's still the chief, and he is responsible for the actions and the work at APD. And I think he made it perfectly clear in some of the same press articles that you're citing that he is clearly running the department and intends to keep it that way.
Thank you, Ms. Nair. I think he did make it pretty clear, but he also said this is nothing more than water cooler talk, and I kind of wonder about that as well. So thank you for the clarification. I'm all done, Mr. President.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Bassan.